Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the new video. I just wanted to talk about something that my viewers on Twitch and I found on YGOPro, which I think is a very interesting concept to say the least. That I'm surprised I haven't heard of or found since. Maybe it's just because most people who play the game are more interested in the actual game, things like that. But I still think this is something very interesting to mention, as it'll let you have a little bit more fun with YGOPro, and have a little bit more fun with the game that we all know and love. So I figured I'd let everybody know about its existence and explain what all of these things are as best I can. So in YGOPro, if you tick on the Show Anime Cards button right here, which as you can see changes the results of my search drastically when I turn it on versus when it's off, you get a bunch of the busted anime cards. So like, for example, the Wicked Avatar has two very different effects from its real counterpart to its anime manga counterpart, because the Wicked Avatar only showed up in the manga. The Wicked Avatar, as it states in the real card game, cannot be special summoned, cannot be normal summoned or set except by 3 tributes. Your opponent cannot activate spell or traps until the end of their second turn after this card is normal summoned. The manga version of this card has a bunch of extra card text that makes it absolutely absurd. For example, this card's base divine hierarchy is 2, requires 3 tributes to normal summon or set, so you can special summon this if you want. Your opponent cannot tribute this card. Control of this card cannot switch. Unaffected by spell trap effects that would make this card leave the field. Unaffected by other monsters' effects except for monsters with the same or higher divine hierarchy. And then it goes into a bunch of other things where the attack buff is just even more ridiculous, and you can see how this is much more powerful than the base form. But another thing you can get by having your Show Anime Cards marker on is if you type in Duel, you get a bunch of different cards. A couple of them are the Deck Masters from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Virtual World arc with Noah Kaiba, which is something that you can look up and you can see those, and they give relatively accurate effects to what their cards do in that show. But we'll hold one off as a marker just in case. There is more to this. There are a couple of other anime cards here, specifically if you search spells. If you search spells, you get a couple of real cards like Hieroglyph Lithograph and Sekka's Light, but the cards that we're looking for that I have selected are all here in my deck already. You see, if you search Duel, you get cards like Sealed Duel, Booster Draft Duel, Duelist Kingdom Battle City, Boss Duel, Command Duel, Speed Duel, Concentration Duel, and Dimension Duel. Some of those will sound familiar, and I will explain all of them as we go along, but these each create a different format for you to play in the game beyond, going up here to a ban list and clicking on, NA and typing goats into your descriptor or something. These actually change how the game is played. Now, the first two here, Sealed Duel and Booster Draft Duel, are the two that I am the most familiar with, and perhaps the two that most of you other people are familiar with, as these are based off of the Battle Pack series of products that Konami has since discontinued, which were designed to be draft play packs, where you would sit around a table with a bunch of people with a set number of packs, and you would crack open a pack, pull one card out, add that to your deck that you would play in this tournament, and pass it around until everybody had built a full deck of cards. These are the two different ways you can play with those packs. You can either play a sealed duel, where you each pick a certain number of packs, you each crack open those packs, and you get all of those cards and you get to build a deck out of them. Draft, you have to pass the packs back and forth, and each player gets to pick a card. Just by putting these two cards in your deck, they automatically activate and give you a set of menus where you and your opponent accept these terms, and it plays through this giant cutscene of banishing everybody's cards from both players' hands, decks, and extra decks, and then setting up one of these duels where you get to pick the packs that you want to draft from any of the battle pack kits, or passing a pack back and forth where it generates a random pack of cards from these battle pack sets. So if you wanted to play those battle pack sets, but you can't get your hands on them, or you just don't have the money, you can do it in YGOPro, which is really cool. But these aren't the only two formats we've got. We've also got the Duelist Kingdom spell. It activates in the same way as the sealed and draft duel cards, where you just have to have it in your deck and it'll activate, except this one, if your opponent accepts, makes it so that players cannot attack directly, players can normal summon in face-up defense position, players can normal summon and set level 5 or higher monsters without tributing, and if a monster on the field is destroyed by a card effect, that player takes damage equal to half the attack on the field of the destroyed monster they control. So this makes it so that you're playing by the rules of the Duelist Kingdom arc from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, where you can normal summon Dark Magician without tributing.
With no monsters left on the field, I summon Dark Magician, declare direct attack.
But you would have to build an entire deck and then include this. So you would want this to be the 41st card in your deck, and then it would automatically activate, and then you can play Duelist Kingdom. That's going to be the same for most of these formats. The next is Battle City. This one's really wordy and has a lot of things going on to it, but basically you get to play by the anime Battle City rules, obviously. All level 10 or higher monsters require 3 tributes to normal summon and set them. Monster special summon from the extra deck count as the same number of tributes as materials used to summon them. Monsters can't attack the turn they were special summoned from the extra deck, and divine monsters cannot attack the turn they were special summoned from the graveyard. Bunch of other stuff. Some of it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because I don't remember that being a fact in the anime. Maybe they're just trying to make certain cards act like they're supposed to, like Magical Hats, where if you set a normal spell on your side of the field, you can activate it like it's a quick play spell on your opponent's turn, and a bunch of other ridiculous stuff. Changing rules on how attack declarations work and where cards go when they're sent to the graveyard. So if you want to play in the Battle City, this will add that and maybe a few extra things. But I don't really have as much experience with these other rule changes. These are the only 2 that we ended up playing because the rest of these didn't seem all that fun. A boss duel is something that I think is a bit ridiculous. You return all cards in your hand to the deck and draw the same number of cards marked start. I don't know how you mark cards start, but it's got a bunch of stuff where it's like you can normal summon any number of times. You can't lose by deck out. You can't even lose by auto win conditions. The card just makes you take 8,000 points of damage. And then throughout the duel, you can activate one of each of these ridiculous effects where you can double all battle damage and the attack of monsters you control, or just randomly gain 4,000 life points and things like that. So this one's a bit ridiculous. I assume it's supposed to be something similar to the Arch Nemesis format of Magic the Gathering, where you're just trying to you're trying to be as super powered as possible and try to be the end boss of the anime, as I would assume by the characters that appear in this card's artwork, like Pegasus, Nightmare, Dawn Thousand, etc., etc. I think that's Zone. I'm pretty sure this is Zone. So, just keep that in mind when you play with this card. It is designed to be a challenge where one player is obviously more powerful than the other. The next is the Command Duel. Does all of the banish setup at the start of the duel, don't have to play the card. But the new rule is that at the start of each player's turn, a random command card is activated. I don't know what that means, but there's definitely some friendship going on in this card artwork between the main characters. But if I had to assume, I would assume this is a lot like the Plane Chase format, where you have a deck of cards, and at the start of each turn, you draw a card and a new effect activates, or the Scheme from that Arch Nemesis format I was talking about. But each player gets a new thing each turn, so that could be cool. I'd like to give this a try, but we just never got around to testing it. Speed Duel. You get to play a Speed Duel like Duel Links or the Speed Duel format. I shouldn't have to explain that, but that format is there. Concentration duels you may not have heard about, especially if you haven't watched the subbed version of the 5Ds anime. There was one random guy that Yusei had to duel who challenged him to a concentration duel where Yusei and his opponent had to place all of their cards on the table face down, and they had to randomly pick their cards to activate and guess correctly if they were a monster, spell, or trap before they could play them. This is a bit more gimmicky. The way that they do that is that your deck, you never draw from your deck. It's just that you can select it and view it like you view your opponent's extra deck, and everything is just a face-down card. So then you select it, declare what it is, and then reveal that card to your opponent, and if it is, you get to play it. I don't know how fun that would be. Give it a try if you're interested, just like the rest of them. But It's a very interesting concept. The Dimension Duel, if you saw the Dark Side of Dimensions movie, you know exactly what this is. It is exactly word for word what that format was, where, what does it say here? Both players can normal summon any monster without tributing. Monster's attack becomes 0. Summoning player chooses the original attack and defense by choosing a value from 0 up to the attack and defense on the card. Either player takes battle damage between monsters. If a monster is destroyed, that controller takes damage equal to the attack or defense, depending on the position that the monster was on the field. So the Dimension Duel mechanic gets to happen. Which, if that's if you liked that, you can play that. You just have to throw this into your deck. You also have deck masters. Any of the cards that were deck masters in the anime, you can have be a deck master in YGOPro. I think you really need to play Master Rule 3 because these cards activate in your Pendulum Zone and then prevent you from pendulum summoning. So play this in Master Rule 3. Don't try to jury rig it into Master Rule 4. But it has those effects. Because these cards activate in your Pendulum Zone and that's where they stay as their deck master. Special summon them at any time. If they are used as material to summon a new card, that card becomes the deck master, etc., etc. And then it has a flavor text. But there are a lot of those deck master cards. So since I've got my show anime cards like typed in there, I could put in deck master. And then you would get Blue Eyes, Dark Magician, Judge Man, Flame Swordsman, Robotic Knight, Jinzo, Dark Magician Girl, Defense Shogun, Strike Ninja, these cards from the anime that they used as deck masters in their duels, you know. They do have the cards for speed dueling. For turbo duels, I just don't know how to get them to activate. I've tried putting Speed World 2 in my deck, but nothing happened. We've tried it with Speed World 1, and Speed World Neo doesn't really do anything, so we didn't even bother testing that. But if you can figure out how to get these works, you can turbo duel like 5Ds, card games on motorcycles.
Card games on motorcycles!
But yeah, I just thought I would take a minute to showcase that these cards exist. Let you guys know that if you want to try these out, you're more than welcome to. It's better to coordinate with your friend. This will take some testing and, trial and error to get them all set up correctly. But if that's something you guys want to do, speed duel with like your Shadal deck, or if you just want to recreate some of the other anime duels, you have access to all of the other anime cards in the show. But that is all that there is for this video. If you guys want to see duels where I am using these format cards, you are more than welcome to leave your comments below about which of these formats you would like to see me try and figure out. I could make a video for each of these where I go step by step how you would set up each of these if that's something you guys want. But I'm not going to know unless you comment or anything along those lines, But otherwise, that is all I do have for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, all that other fun stuff, push all the buttons. That's what I always say, just push all of the buttons. Really helps me out, really supports the channel, keeps this content coming as best it can. But that is it for today. I will catch you all in the next video. Adios. Glorious. No